All right. One more, at least before we get out of here. It is going to be the nightcap. It is going to be Notre Dame's visit to Texas A&M. But you think Riley Leonard's ready to go?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you confident in Riley Leonard's ability in this matchup?
So Taylor, who we had and calls a lot of Mountain West games, he did our Mountain West preview on our little Friday special show, which we're trying to make those be a little more evergreen because I realize like releasing a Friday show, if we're talking upcoming weekend's games, is tough. It's like, okay, like the shelf life on those is poor. So I'm trying to find 12 guests for the year that have like some meaningful commentary that will last maybe like 10 days, maybe 12 days after. So you guys can just hit save, bookmark it maybe on that kind of Sunday afternoon dead zone after you've watched us and nobody else is out yet, fire us up and go a little back-to-back cover 3 for you. But Taylor was at the Manning camp. And I remember texting with him at the time, and he thought that Riley Leonard was moving around extremely well. So because that was something I was monitoring. Leonard, for those of you guys who don't know, his sack avoidance when healthy is like Anthony Richardson level. That guy is hard to get on the ground. He's really great natural movement. I think he's a really good player. Like I know some of the NFL draft guys are not as high on him. For college purposes, I don't care. All right. Like I know Connor Wegman's higher on these boards. I would take Riley Leonard over Connor Wegman for college purposes 7 days a week. All right. I just think he's a better player for the college game. I think Notre Dame's receivers are way improved. Can either side block one another? I don't know. And the Irish are going with a true freshman, a redshirt freshman, and 3 sophomores of some redshirt variety.
It's 6 career starts across the 5 offensive line starters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that can have an impact. You remember Florida last year at Utah.
On the road in a loud environment too.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. But also, it's a new offense for A&M. I think they're going to be really improved on offense over what Jimbo ran last year. But Notre Dame's defense is extremely well coached. They don't beat themselves. Well, last year they only had 10 men on the field, so I guess they did then. But generally, like Al Golden's a really good coach, man. And that's one of my highest rated corner combos in the country. They get Watts back. I think they have a lot of athleticism at linebacker. I don't know, like who can score more? It's an interesting game.
Yeah, to me, the most interesting part of this game will be we talked about Notre Dame's offensive line. How will that look? No experience, very loud stadium. I'd expect quite a few false starts, particularly early in the game. But for me, on the other side of the ball, like I don't know whether it was Jimbo or Bobby last year, whoever the hell was in charge of that offense. Like Texas A&M could not run the ball effectively last season. And with Colin Klein coming in, with just the change in that offense, what will it look like? And will they be able to run the ball? Because I think that you're going to have to figure something out against this Notre Dame defense, because I think their secondary is very good. I think that they have a good pass rush. And I think if you're going to try to slow that down and try to give your passing attack a chance, you're going to want to run the ball against this team, which they were also very good against the run. So it's not like that's a guarantee that you're going to be successful doing it, but I think you kind of have to try it and establish it and get something going. And if Colin Klein is able to bring something to this offense that makes them far more effective than they were last year, when I think they were 100 and something in success rate, like 80s in explosion rate running the ball. That's the one thing that they were able to do at Kansas State. Of course, they had Will Howard and Avery Johnson, and they had some very good running backs there. And I don't know if Texas A&M quite has that same kind of personnel at the quarterback spot. It's just, I think it's a must-have for the Aggies if they want to win this game comfortably. I'm not saying Notre Dame can't lose the game if they don't run the ball well, but it's important, I think, for the Aggies. It's going to be a deciding factor.
I think one of the dynamics, and we've talked a lot about it, I'm sure everybody has, is the Mike Elko versus his former player, like who has the edge. Riley Leonard saw those defenses every day in practice. I think it clearly favors the coach. Like there's a higher football IQ level there that's been studying the game, that's watched a lot of football. And, granted, Riley Leonard's really good, and he's seen some of those. I just don't know if the recall is going to be there to know what to exploit, those types of things. But Bud is right. The avoidance, the dynamic running ability that Riley Leonard has, that's where I wonder if Elko has a bead on where does he like to escape the pocket? Does he like to reverse out? Does he like to step up and then go? Does he like to always go to his right? those types of little tendencies, I think, are where Elko will have it coached up. Chip and I did our pick segment yesterday. I'm kind of nervous because I feel so good about the Aggies in this one. And I think maybe the one thing that I'm overlooking is Notre Dame's defense. Defense travels.
Or I don't have a good answer for like, okay, so how does Texas A&M dominate on offense?
Yeah,
right.
I don't have that part.
And as
Head
much as
coach
I
advantage,
am,
A&M by a mile.
Yes.
Coordinator advantage, I don't think so.
the other thing too is Connor Wegman. I'm a little bit concerned that he's potential guy. Like there's players that we see short flashes and either sometimes they get exposed over time or sometimes they can't stay healthy. He has been a guy for a couple seasons now that couldn't stay healthy. And that concerns me somewhat. There's something you can't do about injuries. It just happens. It's a rough game, but kind of curious, like as much as, and I know SEC media days there were, I think Jordan Rodgers was out there saying he's the best quarterback in the SEC and he might be in practice and in glimpses of it, but what's the best game he's had against a good opponent? Like there aren't many. He played Ole Miss pretty well a couple years ago, but I don't know. So like I'm putting some faith that Connor Wegman is going to give you the best version of him, which I think is a dicey proposition just making that assumption.
On the because as Danny said, Danny and I both discussed the Elko versus Riley Leonard, both sort of leaning that if you're to match it up, but this is just the second time in an FBS game since 2000 that a quarterback and a head coach who are on the same team one year are facing off against each other the next. And it happened last season. Do you want me to give it to you or does anyone want to take a guess? Former Cincinnati quarterback Ben Bryant led Northwestern to a 24-10 win against former Cincinnati coach Luke Fickell. So if you believe the Luke Fickell, Ben Bryant theorem, lay it. I mean, Notre Dame money line. The quarterback always gets the last laugh if you believe the Ben Bryant, Luke Fickell theorem. It's only happened twice since 2000, but it did just happen last year. That stat, of course, coming up, 12 hours after Danny and I were like, Elko knows this,
right.
and sees.
And the other thing too, and we mentioned this yesterday on the show, you might have perfect call. You might have the perfect coverage. You might think you have stopped his one tendency. He is pretty dynamic where he can make a couple guys miss. Like just make a miss or run him over. Like he's pretty physical as a runner. So it's not.
Notre Dame themselves know you just break his ankle.
Right.
So right. Like if you're afraid that he's about to beat you, just get him a little bit hobbled.
I'd also point out, since Marcus Freeman took over, Notre Dame is 5-4 on the road. Something worth considering.
So they lost what?
To Louisville last year.
They
beat Duke. They lost to USC 2 years ago on the road.
They were dogs there, right?
Yeah, they lost at Ohio State the year before too, I think. But was that 2021? I can't remember honestly. But no, they're 5-4. So, it's not exactly a shocker to say a team's worse on the road, but typically you like to see top 10 kind of teams doing better than 5-4.
Any final word here on the Aggies and the Irish?
I don't know that I want to bet Notre Dame, but I don't know that Aggie should be favored by 3.
Texas A&M's offense, the big question mark. Colin Klein, who, by the way, was almost Notre Dame's offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
What does he have? We looked at it as a very plus value. Mike Elko did a great job, made great coordinator hires. I think whatever Texas A&M's offense is able to do against Notre Dame's defense will give us some immediate reactions to Texas A&M's offense and what Colin Klein can do. He may not have the tools. He might not have the players to do what he wants to do, but we'll see in terms of our expectations for 2024.